everybody, welcome back to the 2026 block of the month. This year's blocks of the month are colors, and our colors this month that we're using are blues. Specifically, we're using teal blue. That reads a little darker on camera than it actually is. And I am pairing it with a blue polka dot this month. I am doing a dragonfly, and I used my Dresden rulers. I have a professional set that I got from Amazon Vine. Love it. I actually had a handmade Dresden blade that I made myself years ago. And then this came up on Vine, and I went ahead and bought it. You can't see that. But I'm going to show you how I used the Dresden ruler to create the shapes for the dragonfly this month. So let's stop talking and let's get into creating the block. Well, this year is just flying by, isn't it, everybody? I am doing something a little bit different today. I have all of these different rulers. This is a Dresden ruler set that I bought, and I'm going to play with that ruler set today. Matter of fact, I've already been playing with it. I have got the circles out of here. I've got a couple other rulers floating around. I have all these rulers, and I wanted to use this Dresden ruler set to do something a little bit different. So what I have done today is I have taken two of the commercial ruler pieces. Get a piece of fabric I can put this up against so you can see it. I've taken two of the commercial ruler pieces, and I have used them to draw myself out some blades. See if you can see the outline right there. Onto some fabric that has heat and bond on the back. And we are going to make a dragonfly for this month. Our color of the month is blue, as you can see. And I've drawn these out, and I'm going to cut out these wings to start with. So, and we're doing it in duplicate because I have, as always, I'm making two blocks. And so I have cut this one out. I'm going to turn you over here a little bit so you can see what I'm working on or what I'm doing. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing. And I have applied heat and bond to this piece of fabric. And now I'm just going to go through here, and I'm going to cut out my dragonfly wings. And you may be able to see that around the edge of that fabric, there's a little bit of dirt because it's somewhat shop worn, but that's okay. Because we're not cutting that section out. We're not keeping that section and using it. And I'm not throwing away that paper, but here are the first four wings. So we're going to lay those down there. And then we're going to take the other piece of fabric here, and we are going to cut that. And there are my four upper wings for my dragonfly. And what I did for the body is I've got yellow that came from last month. And the body needs to be 2 somewhat oblong pieces, but I wanted to wait until I had this done so that I could go in and draw out the body. And I'm going to draw on the back of the heat and bond paper. I'm going to give myself a somewhat round head and an oblong pair of body pieces. One slightly bigger than the other. And pardon my drawing, I stink at it, but that's part of the fun of doing this. And I'm making an applique using the rulers for the Dresden that I made last month. And there's the head for both of my dragonflies. And I'm going to come in from this side because I want to do a little better job cutting than I did drawing. And you know, even if you're a terrible drawer, artist, whatever you want to call it, like I am, you can still cut out around a basic shape to get what you need. See how bad my oval is, but it's a little better once I cut it out. And then I'm saving the rest of that yellow because I may use it for something else. And I'm going to take and just do similar to what I just did with the body part or the longer part. And I'm going to take, if you can see the little fuzzy, I'm going to take my little scissors and cut that fuzzy off. So now we have all of the stuff together. And then let's lay out these blocks. And I've got my ironing mat down here so that once I lay out the block, I can go ahead and iron it. And I've got my iron getting warm. And as always, I like to fold these into quarters so that I have an idea of where the centers of the block are, the center itself, and then the X and Y axis, if anybody remembers anything from geometry. I remember very little, but I'm going to act like I know more. All right, so before I take any paper off, I want to make sure that my dragonfly wings aren't too big. They may be. And then we've got the middle of the body, the bigger piece of the body, and the head. So here's our dragonfly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slide those top pieces out of my way. And I'm going to peel off the heat and bond paper. And I'm angling the dragonfly on the block because I like the way that looks. I like it. Now I'm going to iron it down. And I'm just going to take my iron and I'm going to set it on the center and give that about 10 seconds before I go out here and iron down the wings, because that gets the center of everything ironed down. And then when I go to press down the wings, they will stay better. And I'm literally just picking up the iron and setting it down. And it's all attached. So now I'm going to put together the second dragonfly off camera, and then I'll take you guys over to the sewing machine with me, and I'll show you how to stitch one of these. Some of you may know this about me already, but I'm pretty frugal. The name might have told you that. I have a little tiny bit of embroidery thread left on the spool that's in my machine right now. So I'm trying to use that up. So ordinarily, I would start stitching on the farthest back item, but I'm doing it a little bit differently today because I want to, hopefully this spool will last long enough for me to do all of the yellow on here. And I'm going to do that just a hair smaller for the head. And circles are easier for me to turn, but you still have to stop every once in a while. Something's sticking up out of my little drawer. You still have to stop every once in a while and adjust. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to go down and do this section down here. And if you've been around a while, you may have already heard me say that I don't mind if applique frays on a quilt. And for the most part, I don't. I'm going to cut that out of the way, though. That's the little tail of the thread when it's trying to come up under. But I do mind if it looks weird. And since I'm turning a outside curve, I'm putting the needle down on the outside edge of my embroidery or my applique piece, and then I'm turning. I am going to finish cutting that out of the way. I thought I got it all, but I didn't. And this little spool of thread is multicolored with brown and yellow. So I'm just going over a little bit to get basically a tie of my stitch. I don't want to back stitch if I don't have to. And I still have a good bit of thread on there, but I want to do the other dragonfly with that thread. So we're going to take just a quick break so I can do that, and then I'll come back and show you sewing down these wings. So now that we have the body of our dragonfly sewn down, it's time to do the wings. And since I'm turning this way, I've stopped my needle on the right or the outside of the curve. And now I'm going to stop it on the inside of the curve and then turn. And I'm going to stop right where the two wings join. I'm going to lift up my needle, and what I'm about to do is called a jump stitch. I'm just going to let the thread go right along, and then I'm going to turn. See how there's loose thread there? I'm going to push that over to the side, and I'm going to start at the inside of this side of the wing. Now we're going to lower the needle. We're just going to come back up through there. At that corner, I'm stopping at the outside corner. I'm going to turn so that I can follow this curve around. And I'm guiding this to the inside edge of my presser foot so that my stitches stay even. And now I'm turning the opposite direction, so I'm stopping my needle on the inside of the stitch, then turning, and I'm going to come all the way down to here. Usually I don't backstitch on applique, but I am going to backstitch there because I did the top layer first so that I could use up that other spool of thread. And now I'm going to do the rest of this really fast, and I will show it to you, but I am going to speed it up. Okay, so there is our finished April 2026 block of the month. It is ready to go in our quilt, and I'll finish the second one off camera And then I will have a picture after the ending, or I'll have pictures for you here at the end so that you can see what the block of the month ends up looking like when it's all done. Thank you for watching.